Hi, I'm Chrane. I just finished watching the Path of Exile 2 trailers, and I was a skeptic going in. This game is looking kind of neat. I'll be real. I never got into PoE 1. I'm considering going back and giving it a fair shot. But let's look at the gameplay they released from Exilecon 2023 and see what it's all about, shall we?
Welcome to Path of Exile 2.
Thanks.
We'd like to start off by showing some of the gameplay of Act 3.
Act 3, okay.
PoE 2's campaign.
Of 6, okay.
We're starting here in the jungle depths.
Act 3 is the jungle, okay. So we're just doing Diablo 2 again. Okay, I'm fine with that.
Their former once great cities, and we'll be exploring it using one of our 6 new character classes called the Monk.
The
In
Monk.
PoE 1, we had one character class for each of the combinations of strength, dexterity, and intelligence. When looking at the design of PoE 2, though, we realized that many of the new skills that we were trying to design just didn't really fit thematically with the existing classes that we have. Being a spellcaster with a bear form makes sense for Strength Int, but it doesn't really sound like something that a Templar would do. We
True.
realized that since we had new mechanics for every attribute combination, it actually made sense to design new character classes to explore the new themes. In PoE 2, every attribute combination has 2 classes associated with it. Strength Int has the Templar or the Druid. On Dexterity you have the Ranger or the more spare-focused Huntress. And on Dex Int you have the Shadow and the Monk, which Mark is playing here. Each class has its own 3 ascendancies that let you further specialize the class in the way that only that class has access to.
Oh.
But they both start at the same location in the passive tree.
So that's what an ascendancy is. It's like an advanced class, basically? Okay. Also, I didn't realize they were Australian. Or are they from New Zealand? God damn it. That's going to be an issue. That's the fact that I don't know the difference from the dialect. Like, I know the location difference. I'm not that dumb. I'm not that dumb. But the fact that I can't tell by the the accent is worrying.
The quest rewards you're offered on the 2 variants are tailored to the class, but of course, this is PoE. You can still mix and match anything to your heart's content.
They're from New Zealand. Okay, I'm glad I looked it
We'll come
up.
across the boss for this area. In PoE 2, every area of the
Whoa.
campaign contains a boss of at least this difficulty. That's over 100 bosses to fight as you make your way through the campaign.
Gorilla
They all have
Man.
unique mechanics to learn.
Oh my god, okay. That's...
As you've seen from watching Mark fight,
he has like a
melee
real health
combat
bar
in
on-
PoE
and
2
everything.
is a very different feel than before.
Wait, hold on, he's dodge
With
rolling.
ability to combat. Practically every melee skill in PoE 2 has some kind of movement built into it.
That's
The
awesome.
Monk in particular is a melee fighter who specializes in mobility over brute strength.
Love that. Dude, he's... Thank God they're adding dodge roll. That's like the best thing about Diablo 4. I hope that becomes a staple in all ARPGs. It's really satisfying to dodge out of the way of an attack. A lot of swinging and slamming. That's...
So,
I guess
as
he didn't
Mark
need
has
his
been
head
playing, you might
anymore.
have noticed
so-
these blue markers over enemies. Mark has a skill equipped called Killing Palm. Whenever an enemy has a blue indicator over it, it means the monster has low enough life to cull with Killing Palm. Successfully executing the cull will give you a power charge. This is an important skill for the monk, since many of his skills interact with power charges. One of the great things about the skill is that it has a built-in dash forward, which makes it much easier to target the skill at the right point when you need it.
He has a force push as
Done a
well,
lot of
apparently.
work in PoE 2 to make using skills like this feel satisfying. If you're accidentally targeting slightly off the monster, the skill will automatically lock on to the colorable target, and will even do a small amount of pathfinding around obstacles. We really want to
Cool.
make sure that when you've got an opportunity to use the skill, nothing is going to get in your way.
Except that blue
Once
orb
you
down
have
in the
some
bottom
power
right, I'm
charges,
guessing.
use some skills to power up. A great follow-up is Falling Thunder. Falling Thunder without a power charge just creates a relatively small lightning AoE in front of you. But do it with some power charges and it turns into a pack clearer with a large number of extra projectiles.
Very nice.
One thing you'll notice here is that like almost every melee skill in PoE 2, Falling Thunder has a bit of extra movement built in just in case you need it. using the skill within range, and you'll do a flip in place. But use it at a larger range, and your character will move forward while executing it, getting you into position without any time penalty.
Great.
In PoE 2, you also get a short period to redirect your target. Notice how you can start the skill facing one way, then whip the mouse sideways to land the skill in a different direction?
That's cool.
In order to get power charges, you're going to first need to get some lower life monsters into a cullable range. You've got a few options. If you want to charge right in, Whirling Assault is a good option. It doesn't do much damage per hit, but it covers a lot of ground. And notice how you can turn as you do it? Generally speaking, you never lose control of your character in PoE 2. If you make a turn at the right time, you can get a couple of extra hits in on the monsters, getting them into range of your cull. Follow up with a Killing Palm, then finish off the rest of the pack.
We're gonna have pro players reading frame data and shit on that. That's that's a can of worms. I don't think that means that it's a bad thing though. That's kind of cool.
We've now entered the Vaal Mechanarium. This is the place where the Vaal built the various constructs they relied on to power their civilization.
Now this is a find! A Vaal ruin that hasn't been looted? I wonder why nobody's been in here before.
One useful feature that we've added
Probably
is
the gorilla at the
all
entrance.
NPCs to where you are, to give you more
My
information,
guess.
help you with quest objectives, and so that you don't have to always go back to town. In this case, we'll call on Alva to find out what to do.
That's a neat feature.
This mechanism. If powered with a small soul core, it could open that door. There should definitely be soul cores somewhere around here. They had to power these constructs somehow.
As Alpha said, we need to find a soul core to open this door. Let's explore. If you want to shave off some life without getting too close to some of the more dangerous monsters, a good option is Wind Blast. Wind Blast also doesn't do too much damage, but it keeps the enemies back. The closer they are, the farther they're pushed back. So it's a great option for keeping smaller, but high damage enemies at bay.
Huh.
Note that the bigger the enemy is, the less they'll be pushed back. So trying to push back some giants isn't going to be effective.
I wonder
there's
what
the soul
level
core.
he is.
Let's get back to the door.
Because the combat seems very slow paced. Which I'm not against by any means. I feel like we kind of need to move away a bit from the screen explosions and stuff, but so some more slow, methodical gameplay is right up my alley. That's completely fine. Like the zoom explosion stuff has its place for sure.
Consider me impressed. I'll keep investigating in here.
But I don't think we can have both of those things in the same game.
If you need to defeat
I don't
tougher
think
enemies,
that's
it might be time
possible.
to break out some of the ice skills in the monk's arsenal. Glacial Cascade creates a wave of ice that moves slowly in front of the player. It's pretty ineffective against fast-moving monsters because most of the damage occurs right at the end of the wave, and so a lot of monsters will just walk right by it. But if you can find a way to make a monster stop at just the right place, it can be very effective. In order to do that, you probably want to freeze monsters.
It
The monk
looks
has a few
really
different
cool.
tools to do this. A fairly simple option is to get right in the monster's face
Oh.
with Ice Strike. Ice Strike doesn't do too much damage on the first 2 hits, but attack 3 times in sequence and you can get off a combo that has a much higher chance to freeze.
Neat.
Get in there with that freeze, then roll back and finish the job with a Glacial Cascade. Now, remember how Glacial Cascade had that extra damaging spike at the end? If you've hit a frozen enemy with that spike, it shatters the ice on the enemy and does a devastating amount of damage.
Nice.
Oh yeah, I just casually mentioned rolling back before. Did I forget to mention that in PoE 2 we added a dodge roll to every character?
Yeah, no, I
Just
noticed
press
that.
spacebar at any time to roll. There's no cooldown, no limitations. It even has a
Beautiful.
bit of built-in pathfinding so you don't get stuck on things. When
Beautiful.
you dodge roll, you're not invulnerable. If something hits you, you're going to feel it, but most things will not hit you. That's because while rolling, projectiles and melee strikes will always miss. You'll have to roll out of the way of a slam that has AoE, but anyone swinging a sword or throwing a fireball is going to miss. Now, another really
Damn.
important function of the dodge roll is that it lets you cancel out of almost any skill at any time. This makes it so you don't feel like you're getting stuck doing a long animation when something is about to hit you. It really changes how skills with longer attack and cast times play.
That
and makes
sounds
dodge roll
good to
feel like
me.
A very reliable way to avoid attacks. So, that's one way to get out of the way of damage, but the monk specializes in mobility, so it makes sense that he would have a few more. Wave of Frost is one of our new attacks with a retreat built right in.
I thought there
Move
wasn't
backwards
gold
and
in the
throw a
first
cold
game.
attack with a significant freeze. The great thing about this is it puts you at a good distance to follow up with Glacial Cascade and do a whole pile
But
of
there's
damage.
gold dropping all over.
Hey,
I
look,
thought that wasn't a
another soul
thing.
core.
Okay. Did they change their minds?
Another skill you can use to get some extra freeze is Shattering Palm. Shattering Palm is another palm strike that puts a small ice bomb on your target. Kill or deal enough damage to the target and the bomb will explode, doing some damage and a significant freeze.
Interesting.
It's a great option against bosses where the wave of ice might not be enough to get that freeze off, but you really want to get that Glacial Cascade damage bonus.
I feel like the spin is doing with the staff isn't doing much of anything. Rat dogs? Like, what the hell are those?
The final skill we're going to show you today is Flicker Strike. It's a monk skill
Ooh.
now, and another skill that consumes power charges. If you've played PoE 1, you know what to expect.
I guess I don't.
Boss fights, and it looks pretty impressive too.
Yeah. Very neat. Okay. That was an item. Can we look at the item?
Another door.
Can we look at the item he picked up there? I'm curious. Warrior Great Helm. Cool icon. Armor, level 34. I love that PoE has the preview window before even picking anything up.
Another door. I wonder what could be in there.
One of the best features in the entire game. I mean, I'm assuming it's going to be a boss in there, right? Kind of has to be. Again, gold. He looks cool.
In order to take down this boss, we're going to need all the tools in the monk's arsenal.
I love
Especially
that
the
design.
combo of freeze
What
and
the
Glacial
hell?
Cascade. If you're a PoE 1 player, you might think that you can't really rely on freeze because there's so many bosses that are immune to it. But in PoE 2, that's changing significantly. In PoE 1,
Okay.
freeze is a binary mechanic. An attack freezes the target, or it doesn't. What this basically means is that in PoE 1, we were forced to add freeze immunity to many bosses, because freeze just trivialized them. Because of that, freezing was something you only really used while pack clearing, and not something you could rely on as a core part of your build for boss fight. In PoE 2 though, all crowd control mechanics now have internal meters that allow you to build up to a freeze or stun, or whatever other CC mechanic you might be using. It's a little bit like poise from games like Elden Ring, though the meters seem to be a lot smaller than those games.
I think that's
When you
not
freeze
the
an
only
enemy,
thing
it increases the amount of freeze you
from
need to do
Elden
another
Ring
freeze,
you felt
but the
inspired by.
increased difficulty bleeds away slowly. More freeze will always let you freeze the boss more often, but this system means it will not get out of control in party play or interact badly with other CC mechanics, allowing us to let these kinds of mechanics actually work against all bosses.
This boss looks insane. I love the design. I'm assuming there's going to be patterns to these attacks as well that you're going to have to learn, which is what I meant with the feeling inspired by Elden Ring and the Soul series. Slam, slam, right? And a third, okay. Giant circle, yeah, okay. Seemed like it dodge rolled away from the fire, which is cool. The slam took almost half his HP. Jesus. Here comes the big swing, unless he shatters him. Okay.
Blackjaw has dropped a consumable quest item, the Flame Core.
Ooh,
It's a permanent plus 10 to spirit.
ooh, look at the inventory. Okay, that's very Diablo. Very also just Path of Exile. The first one looked very much like this as well. But still, love what I'm seeing. Why is the gold unique item in your inventory with apparently a 5,000 cap. That's gonna be really annoying. That's the first thing as soon as I looked at the items, I was like, oh no. Oh no. Looks like we have a fist weapon and a pole arm of some sort. That's very cool, very cool. I love the item art. Oh, looks very, very clean. Very nice. I hope you can hide, like, gems and stuff. Like, I think you could in PoE 1. I think you could turn off gems so they weren't always showing, so you could actually see the art of the items. Because in Diablo, you can't. You open the inventory and it's busy as all hell, and I wish they would fix that. But they don't even let us have an overlay map across the screen, so yeah. But this looks really good. Really, I'm very positively surprised so far about everything I've seen, which is very nice. It's a lovely feeling to have because I was very underwhelmed by the first game. Like, I'm being completely honest, and I didn't play much of it, so you know, it's what I'm saying might be completely unfair, but it was my experience with the game. But the more I'm seeing of this, the more I'm feeling convinced to go back and finish this, at least the story of the original. But yeah, this looks really good.
In PoE 2, we really want to make sure that you feel rewarded for exploration. It wouldn't be much good if we made all these awesome optional bosses
Some
if
stuff
we
on the
didn't have
ground
something
there.
great to find for killing them. One of the things you might find for killing a boss is a permanent stat bonus to your character.
Like with some quests in D2. This place is a whole vibe, though. Very cool looking. So, we've seen all the skills they were going to show. We've seen a boss fight, and we're almost halfway through this video. Like, what else are they going to show? What the hell was that? Probably a bug. No, he cast the restack and all the bosses, all the mobs came back. He almost got cornered.
In order to help us with
Got
this next
even
area,
darker.
we're gonna call in a sorceress. Mark's
Ooh.
friend Octavian is going to send a friend invite, which we're going to accept, and then they can play together. The Sorceress is the new intelligence-focused character in PoE 2.
Cool.
While the Witch
Cool
focuses
town.
more on occult magic and summoning, the Sorceress is themed around pure elemental destruction. Let's have a look at how she plays.
Sounds like
All the vaunted technology of the Val, and look where it got them. Dead and buried.
she's Irish
This is the largest soul core I've ever seen.
or Scottish. Again,
We could power the canal system.
the accents are clashing in my brain.
It isn't charged. There is still latent energy in this machinarium from its ancient operation. These lines in the stonework should lead to generators. You might need to find some more soul cores to spin them up, but everything looks to be in surprisingly decent condition. Maybe the golems have been maintaining it. In any case, it should still function.
I'm glad she said
We'll
golems.
have to remove that large
I've heard way too many people say golem,
but that shouldn't be a problem.
and it's pissing me off.
We have some skills here that you'll probably recognize if you've played PoE 1 before, but
Okay.
they feel a bit different to play now.
Okay.
Spark is great in these tight passages,
Ooh.
it bounces around. We've added a Pierce support gem to really allow it to hit an entire room of targets.
Cool.
For a more single target focused skill, Arc is a good choice. It does more damage to the first target you hit.
What the hell was that? Oh, that was
Now, if you
an
find
enemy
yourself
attack.
surrounded,
Okay.
It might be good to use Ice Nova. It hits all enemies around you and slows them down with chill. Just be careful. Getting up close and personal isn't the ideal place for a Sorceress to be. She doesn't have the defenses of a more melee-oriented character. If you want to help with the Sorceress's weak melee defense though, you could use Arctic Armor. In PoE 2, Arctic Armor is a buff that builds up as you stand still. You can see the ice crystals forming around the character. They'll drop off if you walk. When monsters hit you, they take cold
Whoa.
damage and build up to a
That
buff.
effect
So
looked
it's a great
great.
defense. Just be careful. You have to be standing still for a little while to get the full effect, so trying to stutter step isn't the best strategy. Now, Arctic Armor is an ongoing buff, but did you notice it didn't reserve any mana? How does that work? Well, we were pretty sick of the fact that in PoE 1 basically every character was playing with no mana pool, so we decided to change the way that reservation works.
Okay.
There's a new resource in PoE 2 called Spirit. Spirit is a dedicated resource you can use for ongoing effects like Arctic Armor, Heralds, Auras, or even Minions. Everyone starts with 100 Spirit, which is enough for most ongoing effects. But if you want more than one effect, you're going to need some more Spirit. Spirit
Okay.
is available on mods from items and on the passive tree. But if you're willing to give up your offhand slot, the easiest way to get it is by holding a Scepter.
Scepter. Okay. So I think I'm understanding what he's saying here, but so you had persistent buffs that basically limited your mana pool. So like, what, you activated a buff and it gave you like minus 200 mana or something? I don't know what the numbers go to, but like just an example. I think that's what I'm to take away from that, I think. On we go.
Now, if you want to increase the cold damage you're dealing, you can use a Frost Bomb. It places a bomb on the ground that reduces the enemy's cold resistance while it's ticking down. It's a great opportunity to use some cold skills before it explodes. And speaking of cold skills, a great skill to use on monsters with the slower cold resistance is Comet. This is a new skill in PoE 2, and it hits
Whoa.
pretty damn hard. It costs a lot of mana and has a really long cast time, but it's worth the wait. It does a
Comet
devastating
makes a
amount
lot of sense, because Meteor is fire.
get you out of danger. The character moves back slightly as it casts. It's pretty hard to hit a fast-moving opponent, but it's great on tougher enemies that stand still, or even a larger pack if you're further away and can predict where they're going to move. Now,
Cool.
if you run out of mana casting too many of those, I guess in an emergency you could cast your free-to-cast Fireball. Where did that come from, you ask? Well, this is a great opportunity to explain the way we've changed caster weapons in PoE 2. Now, in PoE 1, caster weapons had a default melee attack that nobody used, and because they had that, they also had a bunch of attack mods that would spawn in them that were useless to a caster. In PoE 2, we wanted to clean that up, so now each staff comes with a built-in free-to-cast spell. Just put it on and spam to your heart's content. Now, this particular staff is the base type that you get right on the starting beach, and it's quite likely that you're going to outgrow it. So that's why we have a lot of staves with more utility-focused powers for casters to use. Here we have a crystal staff.
Unleash skill.
It's got a pretty cool built-in spell called Unleash. Using it slams your staff on the ground and will allow you to triple cast whatever you cast with your next spell. Now, of course, you're probably going to want to use that with something powerful, and Comet is a great option.
Oh,
You'll notice that Unleash is one of the few skills in PoE 2 with a cooldown. In general, we really try to avoid using cooldowns because we really hate the feeling that combat is just waiting to be able to use your next skill. But it does make sense for Unleash since it's free to cast and it's something we want you to be using situationally anyway.
this is so cool.
Now, if you're facing something tough, you might want to try out Mana Temp.
This info is from
Mana Temp is creates a
2023.
circle of
Where
power
was
where
I?
The character literally hovers over the ground. While in the circle, your mana drains, but it powers up all of your spells. Lightning projectiles fork, beams chain further, and you'll also do a lot more damage.
Cool. Very satisfying looking spell effects in this. The entire thing really is very satisfying to look at.
So with all of these skills, here's a great combo to try.
Of the
First,
particle
cast
effects.
Frost Bomb to reduce the target's cold resistance. Then
Yeah.
use Mana Tempest to increase your damage. Follow it with Unleash, and then triple cast the Comet to do a truly insane amount of damage.
So there's combo gameplay even for spellcasting. That's kind of fun.
This rare monster dropped an uncut gem. This is a good opportunity to talk about how skill gems drop in PoE 2.
What the hell is that?
Instead of dropping specific gems, you can find uncut gems. Just right-click on them and pick whatever skill you want. The gem will come pre-leveled to the level of the area that dropped it, so it's a lot easier to change between skills in PoE 2. This time, I think it might be cool to grab one of our meta gems. Meta gems are skills that can have other skills socketed into them, changing how they work. In this case, we're going to select Cast on Shock. Now, let's equip this thing in the skill screen
Whoa.
and choose a spell to trigger with it.
What the hell is
Comet might be
this?
fun. Because Cast on Shock reserves Spirit.
Wait, hold on. We're not moving past this. What the hell are you doing, sir? What the hell is it? Skill gems? He just slotted the gem into a menu. Do you not put them in gear anymore? Because honestly, kind of love that change, if that's the case. Kind of love that. They have a whole menu. And then you have open sockets underneath the skill.
I think Comet might be fun. Because Cast on Shock reserves
Cool.
Spirit, we'll need to first disable our Arctic armor. We have to decide if we'd rather have the extra defense or the extra offense of the Cast on Shock using our Spirit.
Because he doesn't have big enough
Here we
spirit
do.
pool to use
Trigger
both.
gems use a
Okay.
system of filling up cast time on each trigger. Basically, if a skill has a short cast time, then we'll trigger it really often. If it's got a long cast time, like this Comet here, it will take a lot longer to trigger. You
Okay.
can see up the top left that there's a counter that says how far it is
Oh,
until
yeah.
the next trigger.
And there came the
There you are.
comet.
Using Cast on Shock with automatically cast Comet.
That's
everywhere
cool.
Using our lightning skills. So we've found the generator. Time to power it up.
Mr. Generator, what do you do? That's like a huge turbine or something. What the hell? Cool.
As power is restored to the Mechanarium, all the constructs are coming back to life. We'll need to fight them on the way back to the charged Soul Core. One thing that PoE 1 players might have noticed is that this character has both ice and lightning spells.
Yeah.
It's pretty inefficient, isn't it? It's a big no-no for most builds, because any specialization into cold or lightning isn't going to affect the other elements.
That's what I'm talking about with builds in PoE. It's like you have to pick what you want to be before you play, otherwise you're garbage. And here apparently you can only go one element. Strict? That's no fun. I don't know what the rules are. I just find it very interesting. It's cool that even the devs seem to be very aware of these things. That's a very good sign for me, at least. That they seem to be very in tune with what's actually going on in their own game.
For most builds, because any specialization into cold or lightning isn't going to affect the other element. And generic elemental damage increases are not going to be as powerful as focusing on a single element. Well, in PoE 2, we have another major new system to introduce to solve these kinds of problems, and it starts with weapon swap. Now, in PoE 1, weapon swap isn't really used much for its originally intended use case. We imagined that people were going to be swapping in and out between different weapons to deal with whatever situation they were in. People just don't do that at all. And a large reason for that is because it's really awkward to do. In PoE 2, we wanted to solve that. The staff Octavian is using here has an ice mod on it that makes it great for when he's using his ice spells.
Yeah.
We would also like to be able to make sure that the build works just as well for his lightning spells. If Octavian equips his previous staff in his second weapon set, you can see that it appears on the character's back.
You can see it on the back of the
Now we're
character. I
going to
love
open up
that.
the skill screen. If Octavian opens up the skill options for his lightning skills, you can see here that you can choose which weapon sets are usable with each skill.
Whoa.
First, we uncheck set 1 from being used by his lightning skills. Then, we go through the cold
The
skills
hell?
and turn those off with his lightning weapon.
Yo. What the hell?
Now, when we use Spark, the character will automatically switch to the lightning staff on his back, and then use the skill. When Octavian uses Ice Nova, his character automatically switches over to his Ice Staff before using it. Figure each skill for which set to use, or both if you don't mind which. There's a very short time penalty to switching.
What
so
the
it's
hell?
good to leave some skills on both sets, if it doesn't matter which weapon set you're using.
That's incredible.
But we still have the problem of passives. Wouldn't it be nice if we could specialize in both cold and lightning passives on the character?
Don't tell me you're
Feel
gonna
to,
do what I
you
think.
can. We're on the
Ooh.
passive skill screen here, and you can see that we're close to both a cold and a lightning cluster. At the top right of the screen, you can see where we have some weapon set specific points to allocate. If Octavian holds shift, he can allocate set 1 to the cold passives, and then allocate set 2 to the lightning passives. Now check this out. As we weapon swap, our passive tree changes from one build to the other automatically. Whenever we cast the appropriate spell, the character's passives reconfigure on the fly to the correct build for that
What
spell.
the hell?
Now you can't do this with every passive on your tree. Only points granted from skill books will allow this kind of dual specialization. So you can't change from a mace slamming warrior into a fire elementalist with the press of a button. But it certainly increases the number of options you have for builds.
Huh.
There's a huge number of places where the system can shine. You could augment your Dagger Shadow build with traps, or have a great curse setup on your Witch in one spec and move your Chaos Debuff spells with the other.
That's
It really opens up your
crazy.
options.
That's so cool.
Time.
Innovating in the ARPG genre? That's illegal.
Another fun metagem to try out is
I'm glad they stuck to the dark forest, desert, and jungle theming, though. Better stick inside the confines of this play box, or whatever it's called. But I'm glad to see some actual innovation in game systems. That's very cool.
called Barrier Invocation. This works a little bit like the trigger gem I talked about before, but this one charges up as your energy shield is hit by monsters. I think we might like to put an Ice Nova in this one. The more energy shield you lose, the more charge builds up until the point where you're able to cast the skill you socketed instantly. Lose some energy shield, and then at just the right time invoke Ice Nova to cast all the stacked up versions in one cast. If you keep losing shield, you'll build up even more charge for even more casts, so it's a great defensive option in an emergency.
Interesting. Ideally, you don't want to get hit, though, right? So I feel like that's not going to get too much play. Still, I love that it's there. Ooh. I love the vibe of what I'm seeing here.
All we have to do now is take
Ooh.
it. How hard could that be?
Oh dear. Now we just have to remove it from that construct. I'll give that to you.
Oh my god. Okay, I feel like they're doing a bit more damage this time than when he was alone against the last boss. Oh. That's a big AoE. Whoa, he put down a Mission Impossible laser grid. Stand in the corners of the triangle. Yeah. Ooh. I feel like he's just running around to give us a good look at everything instead of actually trying to attack him. But hey, it's presentation footage, so that's good. Like the music. Oh. Did they cancel the... Okay, never mind. There it is. was gonna ask if they canceled his attack. He almost died. Hey.
So that's Path of Exile 2. Your next question is likely to be, when is the beta?
Mm.
Well, we're in our last year of development, finishing acts, adding skills, and balancing everything. The closed beta will start on June 7th, 2024. Path of Exile 2 has been a long time coming.
That didn't
We're
happen.
incredibly excited to be near the finish line. We're
Huh?
not quite there yet.
Hold up. Did you say open or
Balancing
closed?
everything. The closed beta will start
Closed beta.
on June 7th, 2024.
I feel like they didn't hit that, did they? I feel like that didn't happen, because that was a while ago.
Path of Exile 2 has been a long time coming, and we're incredibly excited to be near the finish line. But we're not quite there yet. We are determined not to rush this, and make sure that we get it right.
Good.
Thanks for watching.
That was really cool. That was super cool. I'm very positively surprised by all this. It looks very good. The gameplay looks really fun. The boss focus, pretty cool. Environments, love what I'm seeing. Music, intriguing. Story, no clue. No idea. And Druid. The fact that I don't know the story of this. I'm gonna go play Path of Exile 1, aren't I? I think I am. Well, before I watch anything else from this, I feel like I want to get some hours in the first game. So I feel like I have some clue of what I'm talking about. I feel like that's a decent idea. Let's do that. Let's actually give the first game a real fair shake, shall we? Yeah. I'm gonna go do that. Thank you for watching. I've been Chrane. I've been convinced. I guess that's the big deal. I've been convinced. I'm liking what I'm seeing. I kind of want to play this. I kind of really want to play this. I think I will. Cool. Very cool. Guess I have to download Path of Exile. Goddamn. That's my weekend gone. As if weekends mean anything with my job. I work in the caretaker field. We don't do weekends. We don't believe in weekends. Yeah. I think I'll wrap it up there. That was really cool. I'm gonna go play Path of Exile 1. I'll see you next time for some class trailers. How about that?